Hi, everyone. I'm really excited about this so amazing conversation I'm going to have with Nadia today. So Nadia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, so my name is Nadia, and I'm a hypnotherapist, a medium, spiritual coach, so a lot of things. And I'm really excited to be here. So you want to introduce yourself, right? Really
Yeah,
quickly, and
sure.
then we talk? Yeah.
So my name is Maria Lobato, and I'm a spiritual medium and a spiritual coach. And I facilitate spiritual awakenings and help people navigate the dark night of the soul. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, right?
Exciting topic, yeah.
Yeah,
That's my
very
favorite
cool.
one. And it's very, I have so many questions. So yeah, I'm going to ask a lot of questions today.
Okay. So what do you want to know then?
So the first one, what is spiritual awakening? No, so many people talk about it. So many people, well, you should be awake, let's awake you, right? Or whatever it is. So many people talk about spiritual awakening, but when we talk about spirituality, it's such a broad topic. So what is it exactly? That's my question, because we can talk about it in so many different ways, right? But sometimes, and most people, even me included, I'm like, I understand a little part of it, but I don't know what exactly it is, like what it involves.
Okay, so the best way I can explain it is when you go through an experience that makes you see yourself and reality in a completely different way. So something that sometimes a spiritual awakening happens after a very traumatic experience, either the death of someone very close or even a near-death experience. People pass on in an accident or something, and they're brought back to life, and they see life in a completely different way. So a spiritual awakening is something that the experience itself makes you completely question the whole paradigm that you're living in. So your reality and the reality and the truthfulness of your own being. Okay.
So that's a question I wanted to ask, because when we go into spirituality, it's a little bit different from religion, right? So
yes,
sometimes people go through traumatic experiences and they go into certain religion. Is it also spiritual awakening or it's not? So that is where it becomes very,
yeah,
not sure how to see it in which way.
I think that when we talk about the spiritual path, so the spiritual path, it's the path that you take until you self-realize, which means until you really understand, not just intellectually but experientially, you understand who you truly are. Okay, when you transcend all the thoughts and the emotions and the body and body. So that's the goal, and we'll get there. I'm using inverted commas because there's no goal actually, but for us to understand, I'll just say that's the goal. It's the so-called enlightenment. Yeah, it's self-realization. So from the moment that you start understanding that things aren't just the way you thought they were, you can have several spiritual awakenings. I had several spiritual awakenings up until now, all of them very different. But every time I had one, it completely changed the way I saw life. So you in different situations with different because we're all unique. Yeah, everybody is unique. So when we talk about the spiritual path, there are as many spiritual paths as people alive. Everyone is unique and has their own spiritual awakening or their own spiritual path. Sorry. So some people do feel that they're being called to go to church or to join a cult. We don't know, because everybody goes in on the follows the direction that they feel that they should be going, and there's no wrong or right direction. Okay, everything is valid because it's all just an experience. There's no wrong or right in any way, shape, or form. So if you feel that you need to go in and speak to a priest, maybe they can help you in some way. That's your own experience, your calling, right? If you feel that you want to sit in meditation for hours, then it serves you. It's what it's meant for you, right? So there's no wrong or right, and all the paths are different because we are all different. Now, the way I see religion, I'm not a religious person. I am spiritual, which means for me, and this is my personal point of view, for me, I believe that spirituality is part of every single being, okay? Because we are all part of the whole, and the whole is spirit. For me, spirituality is it's my nature, okay? Now, when we talk about religions, it's more to do with organized spirituality. So there's rules, there's someone sat down and just wrote these rules at whichever religion. I think they're all valid. They all contribute with a lot of value to everybody. They all have a lot of in common as well. But it's still following the rules that come from outside. Okay, someone decided those are the rules, and you follow them. Now, for me, spirituality is following the rules from my inner self. So my heart speaks, I follow. Okay, I don't follow the rules from outside, but they are valid for some people, not for me in my personal development. But there's nothing wrong with religion, absolutely nothing wrong, but it serves some people, it doesn't serve others. So yeah, it can be part of the spiritual awakening for some of us, yes.
Okay, so that's interesting. So would you say that everyone who is believing in certain religion, right, or any religion whatsoever, everyone who is following, those rules of that religion, they are spiritually awake? Because they are kind of following, the path to spirituality, right? Because it's all about, growing our spirit, growing our soul, growing, being a better person. So would you say that the person who is believing in a religion also, spiritually awake?
I don't know. I don't know.
Not everyone, probably.
No, because there's a lot of people who are like me, spiritual, yeah, not religious, and they're not spiritually awake. Like I wasn't. I was spiritual all my life. I dedicated my whole life to spirituality, and I didn't really understand what it was all about.
So let's get into it. So that's an interesting point, because when you say know who you are, I know who I am, right? I'm Nadia. I live in Los Angeles. I live my life, right? So I have certain things that I know about myself. So knowing who you are is, it depends how you define it, right? So how do you define knowing who you are, right? So how do you define being awakened?
I will ask you a couple of questions.
Like it, yeah.
But I'm going to put a disclaimer on the bottom and say you might have a spiritual awakening after this conversation, okay? So if you don't want to...
Let's awake everyone.
Those who don't want to or don't feel that they're prepared, please just stop the video and go do something else, okay? But you're saying that you're Nadia, okay? So how do you know that you're Nadia?
Well, that's my name.
Okay, so if your parents had given you a different name, were you still Nadia?
No, probably not. So I would be someone else, right?
Okay, but it's the same person, right?
Yeah.
But with a different name, so you can't be your name, right?
Yeah.
All right, okay. What about your body? Do you think you're your body?
Well, I used to. So before my spiritual awakening, I used to think that, I live in the material world and there's nothing else besides it. So I used to think that way, but not anymore. So I understand. So the questions are really good because I understand it the spiritual awakening, I understand it on the feeling of level of feeling, right? So I feel it. I feel what you mean by it, but I cannot describe it in words. So when you're giving those questions, it's so helpful to go from a position of, logical, getting to it and logically describing it. So so now, no, I don't think that I'm only my body. I also a soul, right? So
all right, okay, don't get ahead of yourself, because you're talking about soul, but we haven't gotten there yet.
We haven't gotten there yet. Okay.
So why do you say,
let's do this? Yeah.
why do you say you're not the body? Because the listeners might think, hold on, but why am I not the body?
Well, because there's more than body, right? So there is more mentally, you follow your heart, so there is more in your world than just the body. So you experience different sensations. But
that doesn't mean that you're not the body.
Well, I am the body, but also at the same time, I'm not. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So do you think you're the same as you were when you were born?
Yes and no.
Okay. Yes, because?
Yes, because, and that's where I get into complication of describing it.
Okay.
Because I was the same person, was the same body, it was the same soul, how would you say? It was the same spirit, but I wasn't the same back then because I didn't realize I didn't have the knowledge and realizations that I have now and experiences. So also experiences during my life defined me.
We're not talking about experience. You're getting ahead of yourself. But would you say that you're the same person that you were when you were, not talking about experiences, when you were born?
Yes and no.
All right. Okay. So no, that's fine, because even these questions, they'll make you think about things, contemplate things, to question it, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say that you cannot be your body. This is me responding to the question. You cannot be your body because it's not the same body, right? Every 7 years, the whole system, even our hairs, every single cell is new, regenerates. It's a new cell. Everything else dies, and we're a new body. So we cannot be our body because it changes. It's not the same. But there was something there that, even if you go back to the first memory that you have in your whole life, can you feel, or it's not a feeling, but it's more like a sense of existing? It's the same. It's the same sense of existing that you have now, isn't it?
Yes. So that's the point what I cannot describe. Yeah, you're right. Sense of existence.
It's not possible. It's not possible to describe it. I just want you to think the only thing that actually existed when you were born, existed on your first memory, still exists and will continue to exist until you die and after death. But let's go until you die, or until the body dies. It's that sense of I exist. Right?
Yeah.
So now let's go into your thoughts. Can you be your thoughts?
You see, I don't do well with those kind of questions because you can go on and on about it. You can develop this question
you can.
Yes, and you cannot. You can and you cannot. So
it's very important to think about this. Do you know why? Because most people identify with the voice in their heads, right? We identify with the mind talking and constantly talking, with the ego or the mind or whatever you want to call it. It's constantly talking, constantly. Everybody has this little voice. And we think, because this voice says, I feel, I think, I want, we think that the I is who we are. That voice, because it says I, it's who I am.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not. Do you know why? Because if you were your thoughts, you had the same thought for the whole duration of your existence. Because since we had started this conversation, how many thoughts went through your head, split second and gone?
You see, and that's where I agree with you, but at the same time, you can go a different direction because I'm a hypnotherapist. So I can definitely say you are your thoughts. Whatever you're thinking during the day, it definitely affects your life. So you're becoming that
It's a
person. So
different thing.
if you look from a different perspective,
It's
you
a
can
different
say,
thing.
that's why I'm really challenging clients for you.
But it's a different thing because I'm a hypnotherapist
Yeah, it's a
as
different
well.
thing. That's true.
And we need to, if we're investigating who we are, we have to be honest about it and see, okay, I can be influenced by the thoughts, the mind. I think I'm the mind, and the mind, because I identify with the mind. So I'm your client, right? I have a problem. I identify with what the mind is telling me. So you take me under hypnosis and you change the thought. You change the whole pattern. You change the whole system, yeah? So your behavior changes. But you're talking about the mind. You're not talking about the being. Okay, so the mind changes constantly. The thoughts are constantly changing. And if you do meditation, you know that you go into meditation and for long periods of time or small periods of time, there's no thoughts, right? There's just this emptiness. So how can you be your thoughts if you still exist after every thought leaves you?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. When you're in deep sleep, you still exist, but there's no thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not your body, you're not your thoughts. What about your feelings? It's exactly the same thing. They come and go.
Yeah.
So you're not your feelings, right? So if you're not your body, you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, your memories, they come and go. Your expectations, they come and go. Okay, so now take a step back. What are you?
A being. Not sure if human, but definitely a being of some kind.
The thing is that you can't really explain in words what you are. So we always begin with the process of, it's called the neti. It's the negation path, which is I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not that. So you start taking all the layers of the onion, because in the end, you are the being, you are the consciousness that observes everything, but then you forget that you are the consciousness and you identify with the mind because the mind says, I am this and I am that. It's not who you are because you're observing the mind saying it.
Yes, so there is a
observation
observing part that works in your mind, right? So it's really hard to describe. I think you have more experiences because once you feel it, but describing it's so hard for me because I've never actually tried to do that.
No, and you can't really describe it.
This, but I'm not sure how to say it.
That's why it's not possible to put it into words. So that's why I said feeling. It's not a feeling and it's not a sensation. It's just a kind of a sense, but it's a lot more than that. But now, imagine that you know nothing about these things, and all of a sudden you see yourself as, or you realize that you're not your thoughts. All of a sudden, oh my God, I'm not my thoughts. Okay, so that voice, I don't have to listen to it. Okay, so every time the thought comes, it's like, it's just a voice. It can't affect me. It can't hurt me. It's saying that I can't do it, that I'm not worthy. It's just a voice. I don't have to believe in it. It's making me feel like, it's telling me things that I'm going to be sad. It's telling me this, and let it speak. So what happens here is that all of a sudden you start becoming free. This is gradual. This takes time, okay? But you start freeing yourself because the suffering, the human suffering, it's all because of that voice.
Yeah, I know.
Because
Been
we
through that.
we
Been through that.
identify with it.
Yeah.
So if we go down this path, and there's different conversations that we can have, and depending on how a person sees themselves, how much a person actually knows about spirituality, how much they're into these things, we can have different conversations with people, right? But all these sort of conversations will start when you go into it. It will start making you question reality. So my society I live in always said that I am this voice in my head. I'm not. So what else is not right? Right? So you start questioning reality. You start questioning yourself. You start questioning everything. Okay. So that can be a spiritual awakening. Like my whole paradigm.
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just saying my whole paradigm changed.
Yeah.
Right?
But then again, let's say someone goes to a psychologist, right? And it's known technique in psychology that you need to listen to your voice to observe it, and then make your own decision, your own judgment, because this voice in your head is not the ruler of you, it's not you. So it's just observation and mindfulness, right? So is it the beginning of spiritual awakening? So the psychologists or coaches that teach us all of these techniques, they are kind of spiritually awaken us, or is it something different?
Well, I can't speak for other people, right? I can't speak for other people. I don't know. I think a spiritual awakening is something very personal, and it's different for everybody. I do think that that sort of exercise will help you see things in a different way. If it leads to a spiritual awakening or not, then I think it will be a personal thing. I can't,
which is good.
Of course, it's in the right direction. It's in the right direction. I think that what self-realization does for you, it's not only makes you realize or helps you realize that you're not the thoughts, but it also helps you realize who you are. Not on intellectual level that you can read in a book, but experiential. Like, let's experiment with this. Let's contemplate this. How do I feel about this? And you start questioning, but who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And after a while, there's this like an expansion of, oh, I'm nothing of what I thought I was. But this is all gradual.
Yeah, all gradual. So how fast usually people get into that, or what is the journey? Because we started talking with you, right? And that's another topic, the dark night of the soul. So I think that's where you get into spiritual awakening, right? That's how you start, or everyone starts like that? What is it?
It's different for everybody, but usually a spiritual awakening is a shift on the paradigm. So your whole reality or part of your reality changes. The way you see yourself or the way you see the world changes, okay? And you start questioning things. Now, it can be something very superficial and still cause you some discomfort because you're not used to seeing yourself differently, or you're not used to see like the world in different eyes, yeah? But when a spiritual awakening happens, there's this uncomfortable things that happens afterwards, which is called the dark night of the soul. Okay, we all go through it after spiritual awakening. It can be very difficult, or it can be very easy. It depends on how much you are attached to your self-image and to the things and people in your life. Okay, so it's what I was saying. When you realize that you're not your thoughts, or when you have this other realization about the world or yourself or whatever it is that happens when you have spiritual awakening, because again, it's different with everybody. You often have a very hard time to get back into reality, into the life that you used to. Okay, so if you're, let's give you an example. If you're somebody who is very attached to, I don't know, your thoughts, you're very not depressed, but you're very sad all the time, and it's also always because of some thoughts that you have, and all of a sudden you realize that you're not your thoughts, so you don't have to believe in them, right? There's a void there, like, what do I do now? Because you were attached to those thoughts. They weren't comfortable, but you were attached to them because you had the habit of having those thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So your paradigm changes, and it's like, what do I do now? And that can bring a lot of discomfort. But let's give another example I think might be easier to understand. So imagine that you always looked for happiness in things. Yeah, so money and things like that. And then you understand that actually happiness is not outside, it's on the inside. So all those things I've been struggling to get and fighting to get, they mean nothing. My whole life has no meaning.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this happens to everybody, but this is just an example, yeah? My whole life has no meaning. What does that do to a person? My whole life has no meaning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can go, because some people have spiritual awakenings without asking for them. They just happen. They have no idea what's going on with them, okay? And then they go through the dark night of the soul and they have no idea how they're going to survive it. They don't even understand that they're going through a process of purification and detachment, because once that awakening happens, the universe, so God, the essence, whatever you want to call it, it's almost like, let's purge the whole system of what doesn't vibrate on your level of vibration at the moment. Yeah. So imagine that you have spiritual awakening. So you expand your consciousness, you go from here to here. So you vibrate on this. Yeah. Everything that is below that needs to leave because it doesn't resonate with you anymore. Right. So you start losing things. You start losing things. You start losing the attachments. Okay.
Yeah, that's a complicated and very, very painful process.
So that's what we call exactly.
Everything just falls apart, and then you don't know what to do with your life because I'm like, that's it.
Exactly.
Everything is wrong until it gets
that's what we call the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
So you can have all that, and you might not suffer a lot because you're not too attached. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you are too attached, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. People get desperate because they don't know what's happening to them. They feel like the universe is just pulling the rug under their feet and they're gonna die or something, but it's not. It's just a process. So when I work with people during this time of the dark night of the soul, it's I kind of remind them that, look, it's just a process. Let's work with the process, because the more you let go, the more you understand the process, the more you accept the process, the easier it gets. Okay. Now, spiritual awakenings, you can have one, then you have a dark night of the soul period, and then you have an expansion period. And after that, you might have another spiritual awakening. So I had several.
Can you talk about at least one of those? Like describe how you went through it?
Let me think. I had one just before Christmas this last year, just before Christmas, where I had this period of expansion after I was doing a lot of meditation, and I had this period where the whole world didn't fit. I couldn't function in the world, and I hid myself, not hid, but I kind of kept myself to myself. I was like the hermit, yeah, in the tarot. I just wouldn't go anywhere. I didn't want to see anybody. I kept my my relationships with other people like only what needs to be, and that was me. And then after that, I went through a very dark period. And I had, I don't know, 5, 6 spiritual awakenings already since I started this, going down the spiritual path. And I still had to like let go of attachments I didn't really understood I still had. So it's always in layers. So you have a spiritual awakening and it shows you the world is different, right? You start expanding, and then it shows you, okay, but there's this that doesn't vibrate in your now vibration level, so it needs to get away. All right, so let's go through this period of purging, of letting go. And then there might be a period of a void where there's nothing there. There's nothing happens in your life. There's no expansion, there's no suffering, there's nothing, there's just nothing. And it's called the void. And
well,
it can
that's
be
actually how your body rests for the new beginning. That
yes,
we need that period, because
exactly.
A lot of people I know get scared of that period where nothing is happening, where it just they don't feel anything. That's totally normal. That's where your body is like, okay, let's take some rest before we start this new journey.
Exactly. And then after that, the expansion that happens, it's incredible. Yeah. The longer the void, the bigger the expansion. So after that period, I'm still going through the expansion. But I've been through this ups and downs several times. Yeah. But it's funny because things keep coming up. So I had to deal with some attachments that I had, and then I go through all this process. And then when I go through the dark night of the soul again, it's not as intense as it was before, because you don't have that much to let go as you had in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it might be the same subject or one of the subjects that you had to deal with, but on a different layer. Oh, I thought I had sorted this. I hadn't.
Nope.
It's here again. It's knocking on my door. And that's how it works. It's just working with the process, allowing it, accepting, and at the same time, keeping your daily practices so you don't forget to investigate who you are. Because the mind is always knocking, saying, I'm here. Can you hear me? Let's talk about how unworthy you are, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And we can't listen to it because it's not real.
Yeah, especially during those, as you say, hermit times where you just, most remember like what's going on, right? Nothing is happening. Maybe it's me, right? Maybe it's something wrong with me. Why is it happening? So all of these questions are totally normal in your mind. It will always give them to you. Like, here. I'm like, nope.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So for me, yeah, you're actually right, because I've never realized that after, your big spiritual awakening, right, there's also more and more, because of probably cycles of life and the same. That's why I love tarot, because it shows the whole cycle of, your journey, right? So and eventually it starts over, and then it starts over, and then it starts over. So it's more like layers and steps that you go up, and up, right? So it's very interesting. So my spiritual awakening, the first one, it was freaking hard. Where your whole life is falling apart, like I had no friends, no family. I was completely alone, single mother, terrible job, like 5 different jobs, and I was in school, and everything was falling apart. Every single area of my life, it was so hard, because you're like, what the hell is going on? My life was normal, and then it just fell apart for a very long period of time. And until I finally get out of it, it was so challenging, because it felt like, what's the point? And that's when you start asking that question. That's eventually
Yeah.
where you get to the next level, and you're like, okay, now I understand what was the point. But during that time, during that dark night of the soul, sometimes, and most people don't realize what's happening, right? Because everything can be falling apart. Everything can be so hard and so complicated, so painful, right? Because you're kind of, getting rid of your old life and you're getting into a new one. But like, if you're not ready for it, it can be painful. And then, as you said, this void period also can be very long, where you're like, what the hell? I don't have any friends. I don't have
Yep.
anyone, right? It's so scary. Like, will I find the new friends? Will I find new things that I'm excited about? Will I, get on a different level? So this can be a very painful and very scary process for most people. And sometimes they say like it's gonna get better, and you don't believe. When it's happening, most of people don't believe. I mean, they try to tell themselves that it will get better, but once you're in the process, it's really hard to
It's like
actually
your
believe in
life
it.
is coming to an end.
Yeah. But it actually is. That's the funny part. It actually is coming to an end, but on your spiritual level, on your
Yeah.
emotional level, where you get rid of other stuff. So yeah, I mean, not fun, all I can say. Especially the first one. Maybe it's different for different people, but I was asleep, as you might say, very, very deeply. And yeah, it was complicated. But then once you get through it, once you realize, once you understand yourself more, and actually psychology helped me. So I started, reading books. I started listening to YouTube videos and psychologists, and then, that's how it started, from psychology, and then I went to deeper spiritual path, and then, up and up. So
Mhm.
I started with psychology. That helped me to understand myself and my emotions and feelings, and then eventually went to different levels of spirituality, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, everyone has a different journey, I guess.
Everyone has a different journey. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So what advice would you give people who go through, let's start with the beginning. First of all, how would you know if you're going through a dark night of the soul? Like, maybe it's, some complications in your life that can happen at any time, right? So how would you know that it's your dark night? dark.
I'd say that go back a little bit and think, did you have a major change in consciousness? Did something completely change for you in terms of the way you saw yourself or the way you saw life, that then brought you to this dark period? Because we all have problems, right? It doesn't mean that it's the dark night of the soul.
Yeah,
So it might just be your life. Yeah.
life happening.
Exactly. But just try to remember what happened before this. Did I change in some way? Did I feel different about myself or the world? What changed? So if there was like a paradigm shift, a way of thinking that changed, then it's probably the dark night of the soul. But the thing is that it's not the end. It's like the death card in the tarot. It's a rebirth. So new beginnings are always very difficult, because not because of the beginning itself, but because you have to let go of the past to be able to move into a new life, a new being. Yeah. So you're getting closer and closer to who you are. So let's go back to when I was saying that you go to the negation path, where you say, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not that. Yeah. So it's like onions. You start taking things out. That's what's happening when you go through these periods of the dark night of the soul. It's that you're getting rid of doesn't belong to you, of the attachments, of the wrong idea of yourself, of the wrong idea of the world, of the illusions, the Maya in the Buddhist culture, the illusion of the physical world. That's what you're getting rid of. So the more you get rid of, the more you are there to shine, because we're always complete, we're always shining, but we have all these attachments, all these things that we believe are very real and that we believe we are it. And then we miss who we are. So this whole thing is just a way for you to remember who you are, because that's what we're here to do. It's not to get fame and fortune. It's not to have 1 million followers on social media. We're here to remember. Now, every single experience, every single thought, every single second in your life is a gift for us to remember who we are. And it is. So every challenge, everything, it's an opportunity to question, but what is this? Is this real? Or is this an illusion? Okay, I have these feelings, I have these thoughts. Are they real? Where are they coming from? So with every question, with every investigation, with every contemplation, you're getting nearer and nearer your own true self. And that is the spiritual path. Now, when I talk about the spiritual path, there isn't a path, actually. It's not something that you have to work for your whole life to realize who you are, because you are already it. You don't have to go anywhere to meet yourself, right? You are already it. So it's called the Pathless Path, because it recognizes that you are already what you're looking for. It's just that there's so many things on top that you don't remember.
You kind of forget, yeah. So there's no path, but we're talking about path. Makes a lot of sense.
It's a paradox.
Which whole life is paradox. So if you look at any concept, that's where you get eventually, to the point where it doesn't make sense, and it shouldn't make sense at all.
If it's not a paradox, it's an illusion.
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, it's not a path, but you said about you told us about a few steps, right? So you told us, what are the steps again?
So when you have a change in consciousness, your paradigm shifts, the way you see yourself or the world shifts. So you go through spiritual. That's what a spiritual awakening is called. Then after that, you usually have a period where you're really not sure of what's going on. Yeah, you're still like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah,
what is happening? Yeah, it's like a period of where you're like hazy. The world is hazy, you're hazy. After that, then you go down into the dark night of the soul. And I know that sometimes when I talk about this, I get really excited, and I know I don't like suffering. I really don't like suffering. But when I see somebody going through the dark night of the soul, what is expecting them, it's so amazing, because after the dark night of the soul, there's this huge expansion, okay? And it changes your whole life. It changes who you are or who you thought you were in terms of personality, right? You change your personality, you change everything, and everything is new, everything is fresh, new people around you. You keep people from the past, but you always have new people coming in as well.
Yeah.
So it's all so expansive, and it's great. And after the expansion, before the expansion, sometimes you have a void period. You have the dark night of the soul, and then you have a void period. It's where nothing actually happens. So you went through all those difficulties, you let go of so much, and now you think, I'm ready to go on to the next step, but it's not happening. So what is happening? Where is it? When's it coming? Yeah, you get restless.
I want to know.
I want to know more. I'm ready. And oh my God, another day and nothing happened. But the more you want it, the longer it takes. So just accept,
That's the first part.
just accept. It's
Yeah.
like everything else. If you want something too much, it's not going to come. Yeah. So it will come. This is just a phase, just a period, but don't force it, because as you said earlier, we need these periods to rest. Our body needs to adapt. Everything in our bodies and minds have changed, so we need to adapt. And after that, you have a period of expansion. And then you can go through life normally, and then you can, if you keep investigating, if you keep going down this road, you'll have other spiritual awakenings, because it's a cycle. And it becomes easier and easier and better, more exciting every single turn that you take. It becomes I think that I see life as it's magical. It's magical at the moment. The way I see is, I don't know, even when I have a so-called problem, I look at it and I see the value behind it. It's teaching me something. So when it comes, it's like, oh, I want to sit with it. Oh, let me sit with it. What am I going to learn with this? Oh my, I hate this feeling. Oh, it's coming up. Okay, but I'm going to sit with it, because I don't want to let the opportunity go. I want to know what's behind it. And it becomes a way of life. It's just natural. You just let things go. You just let life flow. And when we do that, life really is magical. We're just missing out.
I'm not thinking about it. So if anyone is going through dark night of the soul right now, guys, exciting part.
Very, very exciting, yes.
Even though I know it can be so hard, but eventually you'll get to the good part. And our life it's also in cycles, because a lot of people think that being in a positive attitude, being in a high energy state, right, it's normal, but actually it's not. So we need that time to rest. Our body needs that time to rest, because we cannot be always excited. If we're always excited, we spend a lot of energy, and at some point your body needs to recharge. It needs to take some time to reflect and maybe think about stuff, and maybe be by yourself sometimes. So it's totally normal to those cycles where today everything is like exciting and new, and you living your life, and tomorrow you're just taking some time to rest and reflect and think about it, and go through those cycles up and down, which is totally normal. Because before I knew that, for me, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling sad. Oh, that's not normal. And then you start pressuring yourself into, well, what's wrong with me? I'm sad, right? There's nothing wrong. You're supposed to be sad at some point in your life. It's totally normal. So once you allow yourself to go through this periods without forcing it to be, excited when you're sad, right? Or being something that you're not in this moment, then it becomes much easier to live your life and go with the flow, as I say. So
yeah. And can I also say on the back of that a lot of people think, oh, when we're fully awake, we won't have any sadness, or we won't have any bad feelings or bad thoughts. That's not true. That's not true. We'll always have something. Now, the way you see things, the way you perceive things, and the way you let them affect you is completely different, right? So when you completely understand it, this is just an example, you completely understand that you're not your thoughts, right? And it will take a long time for you to actually live in that reality where you're not your thoughts, because the thing is, you've been living your whole life thinking that you are, so you're going to live a lot longer thinking that you are, right? Even if you're aware that you're not, you will forget, right? But the thing is that once you really live in that knowing that you're not, they're still there, but you don't react to them because it's not you. Oh, you're talking about that. Okay. And you don't pay attention because the mind wants the attention, and you don't pay it. You allow it. You don't fight it. You don't fight your thoughts. You don't fight your feelings. You don't fight anything. You accept everything. Once you accept it, It's like, it's just there. So am I talking to nobody? Okay, I'll shut up. It goes.
Yeah.
And it will change the subject because you're not paying attention to that subject anymore. So it doesn't affect you. And when the feelings come and the feelings aren't nice, you're probably just processing something from your past, something that needs to come out. Yeah. You sit with it, you accept them, you don't fight them. Oh, I don't like this feeling. I don't want this feeling. Let me go watch Netflix or play a game. No, you stop and you feel it. And once you feel it, it's healed and released. And then if you want to go and watch Netflix, you can, but you feel so much lighter because you're not dragging all this negativity around or the whole traumas and things around because you don't need them.
That's true. That's actually good advice because when we resist our feelings, right? When we resist the sensation, we're like, no, I'm not supposed to be sad. No, I'm not supposed to be crying right now, right? No, I'm not supposed to be. You actually dragging it over a long period of time until you process that feeling. So the more you resist it, the more it persists for you there to resolve it, to experience it, to relive it. And that is why I also recommend all the time, like if you feel like crying, just do a really good crying session, do it with your whole heart, cry it out, experience it fully with your whole body. So you can let that feeling out of your body, and then you become a different person. You let out all of these negative emotions, right? So just experiencing it the way it's supposed to be, because if we start, say, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I shouldn't be crying in this situation, or I shouldn't be feeling this in this situation, or I shouldn't be thinking about that. You're kind of, setting it in your brain, and it keeps coming up and coming up and coming up in longer periods of time. And you don't need any of that.
It's like when you were saying, I'm not supposed to be feeling this. I'm not supposed to. Yeah?
Yeah.
If it's happening, it's supposed to be happening. Yeah? If it's happening, it's supposed to. You're there. It's supposed to. Don't fight it. Embrace
it's this perception of our mind and society that you're not supposed to do this, or people are not supposed to do that, or in certain situation you're not supposed to. And all of this is rules that who knows who created. I don't know. Sometimes I look at people like, who said that? I mean, who did? I mean, why are you listening to this person? Like, that, does he know your body? Does he know your unique personality? Does he know you?
Yeah.
Like, no, of course. So
I think the problem here, is that we think that our thoughts and our emotions are the same. So sorry, our thoughts and emotions and our body is the same. So if you're a young child and you get too close to the fire and you burn your finger, right? What do? You take your finger away, right? I don't want to get hurt. So you avoid pain because you don't want to damage the body, right? And that's normal. But when we're talking about the feelings or the emotions, it doesn't work the same way. But we use the same process. Oh, it hurts, it's painful. I'm gonna remove myself from it. I'm going to bottle it down somewhere, hide it where I can't find it ever again, and keep going with my life, because if it's not here, it can't hurt me, right? Well, wrong, because it will come out. It will come out, and it will.
Most of the time when you don't expect it and it shouldn't be there, and it's going to be creating more challenges for you than it should.
And then people think,
wrong time most of the time.
Yeah, and then people think, oh, I suffer from depression. Oh, I suffer from anxiety. Oh, I have all these problems. I have PTSD, or, well, I don't want to go into mental illness, and because those things are real. But a lot of things can, and I'm not talking about those, but a lot of things that we put ourselves through can be avoided if we don't avoid looking at our feelings or in our emotions when they come up. So when they happen, you look at it. And even if you don't like it, something's happening, you're having a confrontation with somebody, it's uncomfortable, okay? But you don't fight it. You feel angry. You are angry. Oh, I shouldn't be feeling angry because I'm spiritual. I heard this so many times. Oh, that's so not true. You're a person, right? Let it come up. I'm not saying hit the other person. I'm not saying manifest or physically take action when you're angry. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you feel it in your body, let it come up. Accept it. It's part of yourself. And the thing is, if we bottle it down and we hide it, it usually comes up when we're not expecting and when it's not a good time. Yeah. But if we look at it and, okay, you have the confrontation, you can't really process your feelings in the moment. That's fine. You go home, you sit with yourself and you look at the situation, you look how you felt. You don't look at the story that person did something, I did something, and then someone else did something. No, you look at the feeling that came up. You look at it, you let it move through your body. Where is it in the body? Look at it. You can even talk to it and you can even say, you know what, I accept you, you're part of me. I accept you, it's okay. And when you do that, it dissipates. It's counterintuitive, but it dissipates. And then you just let go. You're not bottling anything up and you're moving on with your life without bottling things up. It's so easy, but we don't know. Society says, don't do that. Don't do that. You're crazy. Don't do that. But,
yeah, I mean, it sounds easy, but going through, because I think people not used to going through emotional, not even pain, but emotional journey, right? Because sometimes those negative emotions, they might feel painful, right? That's why we try to resist and say, no, because it's too much for me. That's why I try to put it and bottle it down, right? So actually, when you go through your emotions and feelings and trying to experience them, it's, for me, it's like really brave, because, you know, most people will shove it down and will say, no, I don't want to deal with it right now because it's painful. And yes, sometimes it's very painful, but being brave and actually saying, okay, I'm going to experience it right now, I'm going to let it out, I'm going to see it, or whatever it is, it's setting you free. And at the same time, you're a brave person, because most of people are shoving it down because they're scared of feeling something, or maybe the society told them you're not supposed to feel something, or maybe it was, from the childhood where the parents say you're not supposed to experience those emotions and feelings, right? So meeting them and experiencing them sometimes can be, I don't know, pretty much impossible. Like the person can feel like, no, I cannot do it. No, I cannot, because it's too much, right? So if it's too much, you need to, if you cannot do it with someone else who can help you, because sometimes some feelings can be so overwhelming, where like you feel like you will die if you experience that emotion, or you feel like there's something else going on. So if that kind of stuff is happening, do it with someone else who can help you, who can guide you through the process, because it can be very challenging sometimes, and we all go through it. And some emotions, like, okay, I was angry, I can handle it, okay, right, I can feel it. But sometimes the emotions that come up, like, oh my goodness, it feels like you're dying and then born again like a phoenix, right? Because it's so painful emotionally.
yeah.
I know a lot of people avoid emotional pain, and that's not a very good strategy, because eventually it will come up, you have to deal with it, but probably you will feel worse at that time, because it kind of building, and then it's like exploding everywhere.
Yes.
And
And if you think that everybody will eventually wake up to their true selves, either in this life or in a future life, some people take several lives until they're actually ready to wake up. But we're all going to get there, right? Now, if you think that when you do wake, when you have a spiritual awakening, or when you go through the process of self-realizing, you will have to deal with all of this. All of this. And it will happen to everybody, because that's what we're here for. Okay? It doesn't mean that we'll all self-realize in this life. We might realize in 3 or 4 lives ahead, but it will happen. And everything that we're bottling up now will eventually come up. Because when you go through these releases, I had to release quite a lot of stuff from my previous lives, and I knew it was from previous life. It wasn't from now. it was bottled up. I had to deal with it, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't nice. So we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know when we'll all self-realize. So isn't it a lot better to start doing the work now, where we can choose to do it gradually, safely, to do it in our own terms or in our own speed, instead of, there you go, now you have this spiritual awakening and your whole life goes out the door.
Yeah.
It's
the dark side of the soul is very, very dark and very challenging.
Can be, but it depends on how attached you are, on how much you've bottled up.
Haven't worked on your emotions before, so it's gonna be, challenging. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's true. So that's really exciting topic, because people talk about spiritual awakening, what it is. So now we know more. Thank you for all this information. That was really, really interesting topic. And talking about feelings and emotions, and it's challenging because our society kind of now I feel like it's getting better. Now I feel like people talk more about the emotional challenges, but before it was not open at all. Like, people couldn't feel the feelings. People couldn't allow themselves to experience those feelings. So it's oh my goodness. It's loud. Do you guys hear it? Sorry.
Oh, just a little bit. But it was easier for women because we could cry. Yeah, we could cry. But men were like, what are you doing? You don't cry. No, men don't cry. No, just
that's terrible.
Push it down. You don't express it. It's like, what? No. So now it's becoming a bit more easier. Yeah, but it's still a bit of a taboo for some men, especially. They're very uncomfortable with becoming vulnerable, even on their own. Like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to go there.
Yeah, I know.
But so it's time to wake up. It is time to start seeing things in a different light.
Yeah, I feel like we're going in that direction. Like, more and more I see on TV, everywhere, in social media, people are, more attuned with their feelings, where people experiencing more, right, and allowing themselves to talk about it. So for me, like, so exciting, because we're finally getting to the part where we're getting to know ourselves, where we experience all the emotions, where we allowing ourselves to experience those emotions and be anything we can be, right? So in our true self, not our true self, whatever experience you're having is, just going through it and experiencing it and sharing it. It's like so exciting. So really excited to see where it's going. So it's definitely going to, I'm not sure if do you think everyone will go through spiritual awakening at some point?
At some point. This is all, the way I see it is that this is all an experience, right? We're all part of the same entity. We're not meant to be separated or believe we're separated from the whole forever, because time doesn't even exist. This is all a whole thing, but we are part of the whole. There's no separation, and the whole can't be separated, right? So it keeps saying there's always this voice. Everybody will wake up one day with this voice or this desire to, I want to know more. A lot of us, I'd say that all of us are born with that desire, but we misplace it. We always try to find ourselves or to try to find happiness, because happiness and your true self is the same thing. Once you go into it, you understand that happiness, it's not happiness and sadness. It's not a duality. Happiness is just your well-being. It's just your natural state of being, right? So we all are born with this desire of achieving something. We all try to find happiness, but we misplace it. Instead of looking inside where it's been hidden, we look for things outside. We don't know what we're doing. We're just naturally going after things. And we get the new car and, oh, I'm excited, I have a new car. Oh, it's been a week. It's old news. So it's not sustainable.
It's not true habit.
It's not true. Exactly. It's an illusion. But a lot of us spend their whole lives thinking, I'm gonna find happiness there. I'm going to find happiness there. I'm going to find happiness there. But they never find it because it's not there. It's inside. It's who you are, right? Eventually, you go through it so many times that it's like, okay, I couldn't find it anywhere else. I'm going to find it where it's actually where it actually is. So yeah, I do think that that's what we're here to do. I think that this whole experience is for us to remember who we are. Eventually, everybody's going to remember who we are. And if you look in social media, if you look around, I've never seen so many spiritual awakenings happening at the same time like now. Everybody's going through something.
No, which is pretty exciting to see.
It's amazing.
Exciting part. Yeah. Once you know how people feel when they do it, like, okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a rise in consciousness. It's changing.
Okay, that's good. I really like it. Yeah, we're going in the right direction, even though sometimes it feels like there's stuff in the world that's going on that's completely out of, doesn't make sense, but
but still isn't it perfect if everything is part of the same being, if everything is part of the same whole? Isn't everything perfect? Isn't perfect a perfect manifestation of the whole? You are a perfect manifestation of God. I am a perfect manifestation of God. I'm doing exactly what God or the universe or whatever wants me to do. If it's happening, it's because it's perfect. It's because it needs to happen, right? So the thing here is that we look at and this can go into a very deep thing. So, and I know that some people are not going to like it.
Not a few hours of conversation.
But this is the way things are. We see everything in duality, good, bad, yeah. But it's like Buddha said, it's the middle way. There's no bad and there's no good. It just is. And until we accept that, nothing's going to change.
Well, that's true. But sometimes, for me, I feel like if you live in that, there is no duality, you're not truly living your life, because we do live in the world, in the real world, in the physical world, right, where there are certain rules. So I feel like you got to experience all sides of it. So sometimes you can be in that, feeling where we are one, we are all together, right? We are all connected, and most of the time you are in that feeling. But sometimes stuff in life happens and we do experience that duality, which is totally normal as well. So it's kind of a part of the process of being human, where you have so many levels of you, so many layers of you, right? Where you can be like, today, this second I'm like, I don't like this, I don't like that, I feel like I know myself. But at the same time,
but who doesn't like it? But that's the question. Who doesn't like it?
Huh?
The mind is the one who doesn't like it. It's not you.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important to investigate, where is this thought coming from? Where is this feeling coming from? Because it's not the real you who doesn't like it. The real you doesn't have a like or not like. The real you is just is, right? So it's the mind that it's saying, you know what? I don't like this. I like that. Okay, but the mind of someone else says, actually, I like that you don't, and I don't like that you do. So it's the good and the bad, the duality is a perception of the minds, not of the true self, of the minds, right? So when you go into a level where you understand that and you accept everything, and when you accept everything, that's unconditional love. You accept everything. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it's just an experience. But you have to go through a lot of work to be able to get there and live there. Because one thing is, yeah, I understand this, but living in there, in that sense of I accept everything, it takes a lot. I'm not there, but I do have.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that it's okay to feel that duality, because I'm not sure. I've never ever met a person who's not there, because we still, even though we are the whole, right, and we are spirit, we still live in a human body, we still live in a world where there is duality. So it's okay to experience it, because when you say like we're all, we always we always gotta believe in it and see it that way. Sometimes
no, I'm saying
the
that
world
I'm just saying
that's what
that yeah. But what I'm saying is, let me try and explain it better. First, for you to understand what I'm actually saying, you have to investigate and you have to understand, because at the moment, the whole concept is intellectual, right? It's not experiential. So you have to understand that connection. You have to experience that we are whole. So it's not just an intellectual thing, okay? When you experience that, it becomes very, very obvious that the wants and the not wants, the goods and the bads, the what I like and what I don't like comes from the mind.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can live in this life, experience duality, but from the observant seat. So you're not in the movie, you're watching the movie, you're experiencing the movie, but you're not in the movie. You don't let it control you. Don't let it
rule your life.
Yeah, exactly. But this whole thing needs understanding, needs it's part of the spiritual path, understanding this and actually making it go from the intellectual to the experiential, because it's only when we take it out of the book, but we understand it in ourselves, when we go through that expansion that we are everything. In my first book, I talk about one of my spiritual awakenings, where I was part of everything. I was connected to everything. I felt this immense love. I couldn't contain it. I was at work and I had to get up, and I went to the bathroom and I hid in the bathroom, and I was just looking at everything and I was connected to everything, even the toilet. I loved it. I know it seems really stupid, but I can't express how I felt like I was part of everything. Okay. Every cell of my body was part of the door, was part of the walls, was part of everything. There was this expansion and there wasn't any separation. It was me. Right. But that's when you understand that duality is an illusion, right? Now, so you have the intellectual bit when you read in the books and you know that that's how it happens. Then you have the experiential thing, and you actually, it wasn't just the book. I know, right? But then when you have these experiences, your mind comes into the play again and it says, we're going to forget about that. That never happened. So it brings you back into duality again. Okay. And then you start having glimpses of, actually, this is just the mind. That's an illusion. Yeah, I'm confused now. I have my mind now, but something inside me remembers that experience. So I know this is duality. This is not real. So I can take myself back and just observe it. Okay. So there's the separation. Yeah, life is happening, but I'm not in it. I'm experiencing it, but it's the body is experiencing it. The mind is experiencing it. Me, my true self, is observing it. But this is a whole different discussion.
Yeah, so basically it involves lots of levels. So you live it on so many levels at the same time. So yeah, I understand what you mean. But my point was that it's okay to experience all those levels. So you don't have to be at this point where you're like, I love everyone all the time and I'm connected to everyone all the time.
But it's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying is that even when you have that glimpse, you come back down.
Yeah, it's the same. So you kind of go and you experience all the same. For me, like it looks like a pyramid where you experience here and then here and here, and then it kind of connects all together. So I'm not sure. I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, oh, okay, let's see. Okay,
let's just say that just to finish, let's just say that wherever you are, whatever you are experiencing right now is exactly the right experience for you. Don't compare yourself to others. Everybody has a different experience. Everybody sees things in a different way. And your spiritual awakening is going to be different from everybody else's. Your path is going to be different from everybody else's. Just accept everything and just don't fight the process. And it will be okay.
It all will be okay. It is okay right now. You just don't know it if you feel that it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, so very exciting topic. I think we talked a lot. I'm not sure how long we've been talking here. So.
An hour and a half, I think.
Okay, so if someone is watching until now, like, so amazing. Thank you for watching, and I'm really excited for this conversation, and I hope it was very helpful because Maria told us a lot of things that very cool things. So hopefully
I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah. So if someone is going through a spiritual journey, hopefully it becomes easier for them to go through.
Yeah. So and don't hesitate looking for help. There's so many people around who can help if you're struggling. So just shout, say I need help, and someone will show up.
Yep, exactly. Because sometimes we get stuck in this mentality where like, I'm alone, I cannot do anything. That's where you go and you look for someone that you can experience it with, because it's way easier to do it together than to do it alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for.
Hopefully until the next time.
Next time.
Bye.